Turn right, ST2062. Turn right, ST2162.
Catalina and her classmates will soon take the B2 level German exam. If they don't pass, the language course will continue with a reduced stipend. Not everyone passes first time.
The goal is that everyone succeeds, but it's very difficult to reach B2 level.
Until Catalina passes, she won't get her visa and she can't move to Germany. The pressure is on. Cuban Jairo Montejo has lived in Germany for around 8 years. Right now he calls Berlin home, but he still doesn't have permanent residence.
This is my face every year when I have to extend my visa at the immigration office. I don't know what to expect. I could get 1 more year or 6 months, or maybe no visa at all. That's the feeling I'm trying to express here.
Jaron came to Germany because he fell in love with a flight attendant in Cuba. They both got married there and wanted to live together in Germany. But despite the marriage, getting a visa was not easy.
In order to come to Germany, me and my then wife had to prove that we were together, and for how long. We had to print out photos to show the authorities. Even if you're married, if you don't have good proof of things like that, you might not be allowed to travel.
In Germany, the love didn't last, and that's meant dealing with Germany's immigration office again and again.
That's been bad, because it takes a long while, to get an appointment at the immigration office.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, it took so long that his residence permit officially expired. He even lost his job because of the delay.
Sometimes it means you don't have a job for 1 or 2 months, because the visa takes so long. I've even lost my apartment before, because if you can't work, then you can't afford it.
Kannst du es dir nicht leisten.
For Yaren, it's a stressful situation.
Jedes Mal, wenn ich bei der Behörde bin,
You never know what to expect at the immigration office.
weiß ich nicht.
You don't know how long you'll have to wait, or whether the person you need to speak to might not be there, or if it'll turn out that you're missing some document or other.
Welche Dokumente fällen
Things work differently in Germany.
und anders in Deutschland.
Now Yaren is waiting to be given an appointment at the immigration office in Berlin. It should result in him finally getting a German permanent residence permit after 8 years in the country. That's if everything goes according to plan. About a month later, Yaren is preparing for his appointment.
Ich bin auf jeden Fall aufgeregt.
I'm definitely anxious, but I've got a confirmation from the immigration office, so everything should really be okay, and it shouldn't take too long.
Hello Fresh. Jetzt schnell kochen in 3 einfachen Schritten. Schritt 1. Auswählen. Wähle
It's only a few minutes' drive to the immigration office. Once there, Yaren first has to register at the gate. Berlin's immigration office has a large security presence, and there are lots of people waiting for appointments. Yaren's conversation with the employee at the gate lasts a surprisingly long time.
Ich muss um 12 Uhr
I have to come back at 12:45, 1:45, because they changed the appointment time.
die Uhrzeit.
And the reason for this change?
Die haben leider
They just said that they changed it, and that I should be happy because now I have some extra time.
Zeit gehabt.
So Yaren has a few more hours to wait for the all-important permanent residence permit. He just has to hope the appointment will actually happen. For many people, scheduling problems like this are hard to bear. But why is the system so unreliable? Like many others around Germany, Berlin's immigration officials didn't want to talk on camera, but the immigration office in Remscheid in North Rhine-Westphalia agreed to let us film. 38 employees currently work here, more than double what there were around 8 years ago. Department head Dietmar Murach says that since 2015, demand for appointments has skyrocketed.
Das war natürlich die
Of course, 2015 saw the surge of refugee arrivals that everyone remembers. A great many people came to Germany, including to Remscheid. Around 2013, 2014, there was something like 17,500 immigrants in Remscheid. Now it's 24,000.
Authorities aren't just struggling with increased numbers of migrants and refugees, they're also understaffed. The office in Remscheid sees high staff turnover because the pressure is too much for some. Clara Leuster is one of those with an extreme workload.
After my training, the first thing I had to learn was that I'd never get through all the work on my desk. That's pretty much impossible. It's really stressful, including the decisions you have to make. That's not always easy either. Having to say to people, I'm sorry, I can't extend your visa. You'll have to leave the country.
The emotional strain is one thing, then there's the lack of digitization, which makes working in immigration offices more difficult.
It's pretty full here, but in the other office where my desk is, there are so many that sometimes we have to put them on top of the folders. We have to put them there because no more will fit in here.
The lack of digitization is a widespread problem in Germany. There are increasing calls from government workers for politicians to take action. Back in Bogota, Catalina has passed the language test on her second attempt. She now qualifies for a work permit. She's been recruited by a placement agency to work in Germany, and she's looking forward to the move.
I want to try living outside my country, away from my family, to see if I can handle it, and to see whether I'll decide to stay.
Before setting off, Catalina spent some time with her older brother Oscar. She's the youngest of 3 siblings and the first to emigrate.
I want her to enjoy it, to travel and make the most of it.
Her brother wants to visit her soon too. This is Hanau in central Germany. Catalina will be working in a kindergarten like this one. In Germany, there's a shortage of almost 100,000 kindergarten teachers. That's about 80 missing employees in Hanau's daycare centers alone. Skilled workers from abroad can at least help the city fill some gaps. So far, it's working well.
We have the feeling that people deciding they want to work overseas is a really big motivating factor.
Daniela Noggia is also from Colombia. She's been in Hanau for about a year. Things haven't always been easy for her.
The weather is tough. We don't have seasons in Colombia, so winter here was very hard for us. And the language, too.
Those who have the support of an agency and a job offer have an easier time dealing with German bureaucracy. It's different for those who are doing everything themselves, like Jaren Montejo in Berlin. After yet more...
Then turn left.
waiting, he's on the way to hopefully finally collect his permanent residence permit.
I'm definitely everything will work out this time.
C'est bon, c'est bon. Jérôme.
The number of asylum seekers in Germany is on the rise, and Germany's federal and state governments are taking a harder stance on irregular migration. After months of disagreement, they've new financing rules for migrants and additional measures designed to limit irregular migration. Chancellor Olaf Scholz's government will now pay the states 7,500 euros per year for every asylum seeker they host. The government also pledged to develop new measures to reduce asylum applications and more quickly process new applications. The agreement was reached after marathon talks in Berlin. Julia Saudali is our political correspondent, and she joins us now with the results of what was a marathon meeting. Julia, Chancellor Scholz and German state premiers have reached an agreement. Again, the German government will pay the states for every asylum seeker. Tell us more about what they've signed up to.
Yes, a lot of the debate yesterday at this meeting and tonight had to do exactly with money. It's because the local authorities in Germany, the federal states, and the municipalities are the ones that actually in practice deal with welcoming refugees in the country. So they find accommodation for them, they find spots in schools for children, and that means they also bear the cost. And this is why they really wanted the federal state to contribute more, given that they are reaching their limit in terms of caring for refugees. And they have found a compromise right in the middle between what the federal government was proposing initially and what the federal states had been asking for, which means a slight increase in money that the state is going to give to the federal states, but not enough money compared to what they had been asking for. But in general, we've seen in this agreement that the German government is going ahead with a more hardline approach to migration. They plan to also reduce benefits for asylum seekers as they wait for their asylum request to be processed. We've also seen that the German government wants to go ahead with examining the possibility of having the asylum procedures carried out in countries outside of Europe. And they also want to go ahead and close agreements with countries of origin of the migrants to make sure that they can be deported once they don't have the right to stay in Germany anymore.
As you well know, there have been numerous proposals on how to deal with migrants coming to Germany. What's the public sentiment in Germany regarding this debate?
Well, the debate is quite heated in Germany at the moment, and we see also in polls conducted recently that, for example, 44% of Germans think that the issue of migration is the most important problem that the German government has to deal with at the moment. And in other polls, we see that up to 80% of respondents find that the German government's migration policies are not good. And we see this also in the political debate. For example, a lot of criticism coming to the government from the CDU, the main.
I started to make real money, a few €100 more, then a few thousand more. I love my work now.
He's on the phone all the time. The secret to his success? Quality, he says. He doesn't simply fill boats with people and send them off to their fate. He captains the boats himself. Police officers who make such arrests seem to have changed their approach. Nowadays, they often drop people close to places where people smugglers are known to operate. Observers suggest this might be to the end of the migration deal with the EU. The lack of stricter policing is good news for Samba. He smuggles people out of Sousse and even rents apartments to customers while they wait for a boat. It's an open secret. Even the police know, he says.
We do business with them. They are the ones who help us, like the security. They are the ones who used to tell us the good time, what time are we going to do the work, and what's the bad time not to do it.
He specializes in moving people from West Africa to Europe. He says it's a twist of history.
Yeah, we are not going there to be criminals. We just go there to change the situations, that's all. The same way when Europe and they came to Africa to take our stuff, that's the same way we are going back there to take our stuff again back into our country.
He says the coming weeks will probably be busy on the beaches here. Many migrants are
around 250,000 people have entered the European Union illegally, which is the highest number since the year that was considered the EU's migration crisis, 2015-2016, when over 1 million people entered the European Union. Now, as you say, Tunisia accepted a sort of delegation of EU officials that arrived in July and signed with a lot of pomp and ceremony a deal, a memoranda of understanding to try to prevent smugglers from putting people on their boats to reach the European Union. The EU agreed to give Tunisia around 255 million euros to try and help with Tunisia's ailing economy. But what we've seen essentially is the deal collapse. And what we see in the report there is that the people smugglers are brazen and even saying that they're providing a service when the EU is trying, what they say, is to break up these people smuggling networks. In September, the Tunisian government wired back 60 million euros of that cash that was given to them by the European Commission. They said that that money was already part of deals that they had agreed with the EU before all of this, and that they felt they were being duped, so sent the money back. And so what we've seen is this deal kind of essentially, to all intents and purposes, fall apart. Aid organizations have been saying for a long time that these deals don't work, that the only way to try and sort this problem out and prevent deaths at sea is to provide safe and legal pathways from countries like Tunisia, but other countries as well, into the European Union, where people who want to apply for asylum can go through the process of asylum. But at the moment, we're in this sort of deadlock. And as we heard in the report, it is expected that many people will try and make their way before the winter seas come up in the next few weeks.
Why did the EU think a deal like this would work?
Yeah, that's the big question. The EU signed a deal with Turkey, a similar deal worth 6 billion euros for Turkey. And what essentially the Turkish authorities did was keep around over 3 million people in refugee camps and prevented them from leaving Turkey to enter the European Union. That deal was signed in 2016. Now, the question is, so they thought, the Europeans thought that this would work with Tunisia as well, but they're dealing with a slightly different organization, a very different government, in fact, and it just hasn't seemed to work. The aid charities and migrant organizations have said that what they tried to do was throw money at the problem. When that deal was signed, the Dutch